everybody, Penny here. Welcome to my kitchen. Sorry about last week. I didn't have the video done. I sent you a rerun. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a mole on my cheek that I had a treatment on purely for cosmetic reasons, no concerns, but it really wasn't very pretty. So I didn't do a video. Now I just have a little red spot there. So it's getting there. It's getting better. It'll soon all be gone. So again, I apologize for that. But today we are going to do chicken cacciatore. Now, cacciatore, from the research that I've done, in Italian means hunter. So essentially what chicken cacciatore is a hunter stew. And it's a braised stew. So when you braise meat or you braise anything, it means that what you're braising is partially covered, about halfway to 3/4 of the way covered in some form of liquid. And in this case, it happens to be diced tomatoes, and of course the liquid from the mushrooms, and we've got onions, celery, green pepper, garlic, and so on. So step number one, I'm using chicken thighs. You can use whatever pieces of chicken that you like. Chicken thighs is probably better for braising because if you overcook chicken breast, the white meat, it can sometimes become really dry. So step number one is to preheat the pan, which I've done, and then we're salt and peppering the top side of the chicken thighs, and I've got 8 chicken thighs here. There we go, that's the pepper, and that's to taste, of course. We have our pan heating up on our induction cooktop, which does get quite hot. So I've just put in maybe a little over a tablespoon of olive oil, and now we've got a little bit of butter in there, and as you can see, the butter is melting quite nicely. So now we're going to put our chicken in skin side down. We're not looking to cook our chicken, we're just looking to brown it. So I'm going to turn that up ever so slightly, if it will let me. I have an error because I lifted my pot up. So let's do it again. Turn it off. See if we can start again. Nope. Bear with me, technical difficulties. Okay, technical difficulties resolved. I can't lift the pot off the machine. It doesn't like it. Because this is the induction cooktop that works with a magnetic field rather than straight heat. So, we're going to put all our chicken in, skin side down like we talked about. So now that the chicken is in, now we're going to salt and pepper the back side. And again, remember, we're not looking to cook the chicken all the way through. We're just looking to brown it on each side because it's going to complete the cooking process in the tomato sauce, in the cacciatore. So this is one can, 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes that we're going to use. And this is 1½ onions and 2 stalks of celery that I have chopped up. And now I'm just going to show you, just as a reminder while our chicken is browning, how to peel an onion. So I chopped it in half, chopped the top off and the tail off, and I chopped it in half. And as you can see on this one, there's a little piece just under the skin. I normally also take off the piece that's under the skin, the layer, simply because it's often a little, gooey or not quite nice, a little too hard. So then you take your onion, make sure your flat side is down on your flat board, and this is a hunter stew, so it's really rough. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to be done. So we're going to do nice large chunks or small chunks if that's what you prefer of the onion. And we're going to put that in the bowl with the rest of the onions. So I have 2 onions. and 2 stalks of celery. I also have some mushrooms. Now, I have 2 small packages of mushrooms. I've chopped almost all of them up. Just left a couple extra so I could show you. So you take the stalk off, and then you lay it flat, and then you take the flat side of the mushroom and chop it however big or small you want. Now mushrooms shrink a lot. So if you're looking for nice big pieces of mushroom, then maybe only quarter it. If you're looking for smaller pieces of mushroom, then you can slice it up some more. So we'll just continue with this for a minute. Get these done. Now when I was doing the research, it seemed like chicken cacciatore, every grandma probably has their own recipe. And that's great. And different regions of Italy have their own recipes. I saw one actual Italian grandma on YouTube, and she didn't put in mushrooms, she didn't put in celery, she didn't put in green pepper, she just had onion, garlic, and her own bottled chopped tomatoes, of course, and the chicken. And then she had her own herbs, and she grows basil in her garden, so she had some basil in there as well. Just going to put these stalks aside. And let's check the chicken. Oh, I can't lift up the actual pan. But you see how nice and brown that is? That's what you're looking for. Okay, so now we're going to turn them over and brown the other side. And if when you're trying to turn your chicken over, it resists, that means it's not ready yet. And for some reason, this just cut out on me again. 1 second. Not sure what's happening there, but that's okay. We're on the go again. So now we're also going to 1 full green pepper. Some people also put carrots in there. Some people also put red pepper. I saw one gentleman, an older Italian gentleman, he was quite funny, and he put in a red pepper, a yellow pepper, and a green pepper. And but he put in garlic, but he didn't put in any onions. But most of everything that I saw used onions, garlic, and some form of a pepper. And I would say more than half also have mushrooms. So that's what I decided to go with today. So we got a whole green pepper, and we can cut out the white parts, the picky parts they call them, and then slice them. I'm going to move these ones out of the way, maybe you can see better. Slice them lengthwise. And a little trick, if you find cutting peppers a little hard because of the skin, is you can put them on the side. So the skin side is not on the cutting board, it's actually sideways. So then, when you're running your knife through, remember to keep your hand like a claw, particularly your pinky gets tucked away, and then you slice away from you. Right? And the reason for the claw is because when you slice down, when you come up the next time, your knife is going to touch your knuckle. You don't want to bring your knife way up here, you only want to bring it high enough to cut what you're cutting. So if you bring it too far over, you're going to touch your knuckle instead of cutting your finger. So, let's see about this again. We'll do this side. There we go. And again, it doesn't have to be a fine chop. It doesn't have to be pretty. A couple of things that I saw, they even left them as strips instead of chopping up in pieces. So whatever you find works best for you. This is getting a little loud now. Sorry about that. But our chicken is nice and brown. on the skin side. Look at that. Woo-hoo. So, just get them all turned over. Get them browned on the other side. Now, some of the recipes, when I was doing the research, also floured the chicken first. I'm not sure why. A couple of them said that it thickened the stew. But when the final product was revealed, it really didn't look very thick to me, so not quite sure. And some of them used tomato paste to thicken, which is what you would use if you were, making spaghetti sauce or tomato sauce or something like that from scratch. So that's what we're going to do. So just to go over it again, we've got 2 medium onions. We've got 2 stalks of celery. We've got 2 small containers of mushrooms. And if all you have access to is tinned mushrooms, feel free to throw those in too. Not a problem. And if you don't like mushrooms, you can leave them out. And we're also going to have 4 cloves of garlic. And 4 like smallish cloves. And we are, also going to put in about a tablespoon of Italian seasoning. And I really like the flavor of oregano, so we're going to add some extra oregano, even though oregano is already in the Italian seasoning with a bunch of other seasonings. And we keep getting an error, and I'm not sure why. There we go. Started again. Live TV. It's all good. There we go. So once the chicken comes out, we are going to fry up our onions and celery, put in our dried herbs, add our mushrooms, add our green pepper, and at some point we're going to add our garlic and our tomato paste. Get all that cooked down. Then we're going to add our tomatoes. Once that's all done, then we're going to add our chicken back in, skin side up, and we're not going to immerse it. We're just going to lay it on top. So it's partly covered by the liquid, and we're going to let it gently simmer for about half an hour, and then it'll be ready. Okay, so again, we are not looking to cook the chicken all the way through, just looking to brown it. There we go. So we'll turn this off. You hold that handle, Barry. Thank you. I'm just going to take that off, set it aside. Now remember, the chicken's not completely cooked through, so don't try and eat it at this point. Even though you may be hungry, go have an apple and wait for supper, because that would not be good if you ate the chicken at this point. Alrighty then. We have a nice amount of fat left in there from the chicken, which is all good. So I'm going to add the onions and the celery. Then I'm going to turn this bad boy back on again. There we go. Now, if we were using fresh herbs, then we would add our herbs at the end, because you don't want them to go like bitter. But because we are using dry herbs, we're going to add them now with the onions and the celery. So you want about 1 kitchen tablespoon of the Italian seasoning. And you want about the same of the oregano, or thyme, or basil, whatever is your favorite. Or if you just like the Italian seasoning, you could add a double spoonful of that. If you don't really like strong Italian flavors, you could just do the 1 teaspoon. Totally up to you. Okay. Now, all that brown bits on the bottom of the pan that were left there from the chicken, Those are called fondants, and they are flavor. So as your vegetables are cooking, you can take your cooking utensil and scrape them off the bottom, because that adds a lot of flavor to your dish, and we don't want to waste that. So cool. Now, this part is totally optional, but some of the research that I did had red wine. Some of the research had like a half a cup of white wine. Some had no wine, and some had balsamic vinegar instead of wine. But I happen to have just a wee little bit of wine in the fridge, so I'm going to get that now. See, just a wee little bit, probably about half a cup. And all it says is smooth white. I don't know anything about wines. I just know I like cooking with them. So, if this was something with red meat, for example, I would use a red wine. I find red wine goes much, much better with red meat. However, I could be wrong. That's just my preference. So, we are going to put a little splash around the pan. So we probably used about 1/4 cup. And that will also help us get the fondant off the bottom of the pan. But like I said, totally, totally optional. But it certainly adds a lot of flavor. So we're going to let that cook down a little bit. And while we do that, I am also going to mince our garlic. And this is a garlic press. And if you have one, it's fantastic. If you don't have one, we can easily just chop it up or grate it on a microplaner, whatever easiest for you. That's Caitlin came downstairs. She's just washing her hands. No, I know, but they can hear you on the video. That's all. Okie dokie. And I have one more. Making chicken cacciatore. It's all done, my darling, but thank you. Yeah, when we're all done. So now our garlic is ready. So now our wine is starting to evaporate. And now I'm going to add about a tablespoon of tomato paste. If you can find a tube of tomato paste in your grocery store, it's really helpful, because if you open up a whole small can, then what do you do with the rest of it? But if you have a tube, you can just squeeze in about a tablespoon, maybe a little more than a tablespoon, but that's all I need. I don't need a whole can. So I can put that back in the fridge, and that's fantastic. So we'll mix that up. And the reason you put your tomato paste in first is to let it dissolve, let it get all nice throughout all your vegetables, and it adds a nice, more intense tomato flavor than if you didn't have it in there. And if you really like a thick sauce, then by all means, go ahead and put in one of the small tins. Okay, so now that we have that done, I'm going to add in our mushrooms. Now, that looks like an awful lot of mushrooms, but what will happen, they will shrink, and it will end up being about half that. And I'm also going to put a wee bit of salt and pepper in there. When you're cooking, it is important to salt and pepper to taste as you go. You can always adjust it at the end, but if you salt and pepper as you go, then every layer of everything that you put in there gets seasoned properly. Okay, now I'm going to add in my green peppers, And this is actually a pie cutter, a pastry cutter, but I do use it for you know, baking things, but more often than not, I use it to move my chopped vegetables. And I got that idea from Rachel Ray. So, now that we have all that in there, I'm also going to add in our garlic. And I didn't add the garlic in earlier because I didn't want it to burn. But it's all mixed in very nicely now with our vegetables. The vegetables are acting like a little bed for the garlic, so they'll still get a bit of heat, but it won't burn, which is great. Okay, this has got to go for, I'd say, a good 5 minutes. Now you can serve this on its own if it's nice and thick. You can serve it on any kind of pasta. You can serve it over polenta. You can serve it over mashed potatoes. But we are going to serve it tonight over some egg noodles. Just because I was in the mood for egg noodles. So you can serve it over whatever you find you like. You could even serve it on its own with a couple of slices of really nice, thick, crusty bread. Would be awesome. Okie dokie. So, that looks amazing already. Okay. And I can't really lift up the pan or the machine will stop. Let's give it a go. See? Doesn't that look good? See, Caitlin? Oh, our machine is good. Yay! So, now we're going to add in our large tin of tomatoes. And just a half a can of water. Caitlin, you want to get me like water right to there? So I didn't wait the full 5 minutes that I probably would if we weren't filming. But that's okay. It's all good. It's all going to be very, very tasty. Okay, I'm going to put that in there. There you go. Good job. Excelente. Now, this needs to come up to a really nice simmer. Almost like a strong simmer. Not quite a boil. But, all right. Oh, it looks so nice. I'm going to turn that up just a little bit. There we go. And as soon as that comes up to a simmer, we're going to add back our chicken. So we'll just tidy up a little bit here now. Don't throw that away, okay? All right. What I was telling Caitlin not to throw away is the stalks of the mushrooms, the peels from the onions, the tops and the bottoms of the onions, the tops and the bottoms of the celery, and of course what's left over from the green pepper. The reason for that is I freeze it and make vegetable stock, and I'll show you. About that. So this is a bag that I keep in the freezer, and it's full of odds and ends just like this. And then when it's full, the bag, then I put it in water with some bay leaves, maybe another couple of carrots, maybe another full onion, some salt and pepper, and I boil it for about, bring it to a boil and simmer for about 45 minutes or so. And you may wonder, the onion peels, why the onion peels? They add such a nice, deep, rich color to the stock. It's really, really good. And this is also something, if you were going to make a chicken stock, you could throw all this in with your chicken in a nice big pot, and Bob's your uncle. So, we'll put it back in the freezer. Okay, we're starting to simmer here a little bit. That looks good. Not quite there. So apparently, in Italy, it's also common to not have this with chicken, but to have it with rabbit. Caitlin, can you wait till I'm done, please?
Dad, I know what I'm doing.
Thank you. So we're almost up to a nice bowl. Now, rabbit is not very common here in Ontario unless you're, in a Mennonite type community or you're an avid hunter. But in Newfoundland, it is very, very common to have rabbit. And apparently in Spain and Italy and different parts of Europe, it is also quite common. The last time I had rabbit was in Newfoundland, and very, very good friends of ours, Mark Tucker, she cooked rabbit. Just for me, actually, which I thought was really, 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 really nice of her. And it's delicious. It is a really, really good rabbit stew with pastry on the top. It's like in a gravy with all, oh, so good, so very good. Okay, that looks pretty good there. We're simmering. No, I've got that in there already. We are simmering away. So now we're going to put our chicken back in. We're just going to lay it on top. Oh, I just pulled the chicken skin off one. No, I'll do it. Thank you. We're just going to lay it on top. We're not looking to submerge it in the stew. We're just looking to braise it. Then we're going to put the cover on, and we are going to turn it down just a little bit, and we're going to let it sit and simmer or braise for about 30 minutes, and then we'll be back. Hi everybody, back again. So our chicken cacciatore is all ready. So we're going to get a bed. I've already mixed in some of the sauce with the noodles and a little bit of Parmesan cheese. So we're going to get a nice bed of noodles, and then we're going to top it with some chicken and a little more sauce. There's more sauce in the pan as well. It makes a lot of sauce. And then we are going to sprinkle with some Parmesan cheese. And there you have it, everybody. Chicken cacciatore. Hope you give it a go. Enjoy. Bye.